as Nintendo always says, when they put out a new system, they begin work on the next system. And now we're starting to hear the juicy tidbits about what could potentially be the next system. Again, this is all rumored. Because Nintendo's not talking about it yet. But here we have multiple rumors about it this week from trusted sources. Our friends at Video Game Chronicles have gotten some inside information. And I say that because we're honestly friends. We've talked through X DMs and all that. So all good stuff. Here we go. Rumor is the Switch's successor will be released in the second half of 2024, and dev kits are in the hands of major development studios right now. Really makes sense. I think even the let's say this. I think most Nintendo fans will agree we're expecting the Switch successor to release in 2024. It just makes sense. Late 2024 makes more sense than early 2024.
For holidays purpose?
Well, that and based on the schedule of software we know is still coming to Switch. Like Nintendo we're finishing out the year strong. This year has been incredible. But we have big things coming this year. Like we said, Super Mario Brothers Wonder is coming out. That's a huge game this year. And then we know that Princess Peach game is coming out next year. We know Super Mario RPG's remake is coming out this year. There's something I'm forgetting, but yeah, we know there's a cadence. Luigi's Mansion. We know there's a cadence of stuff coming to at least take us midway into 2024. So late 2024 makes
all
sense.
Of that. Not all of that is this year, is it? Or
not all of it. Luigi's Mansion, I believe we don't know the date for. We're gonna have a calendar I can reference later, but.
Do we know anything more about the Peach game?
That
mysterious
that quick footage, and that was it. Yeah. So yeah, this timing makes sense. Again, it's just rumored, but this timing makes sense. Backwards compatibility is unknown at this point. If I just had to guess, I would imagine backwards compatibility for the Switch would be there.
Yeah, that seems like a Nintendo move.
To be honest, you never know what Nintendo's going to do. I would agree it makes sense because when I have something really successful, they tend to bridge the gap with it.
Especially since they're still like releasing big name games so late in the game.
The console will reportedly have an LCD screen to reduce production costs, which makes sense. Everybody would like an LED like you have on the Switch OLED, but if you're going to launch a system, you want to keep costs down at first, and then, as time goes on, you do that stuff, which is what they did with the Switch. Later this week, we also heard as a 8-inch LED screen, which would be bigger than the Switch OLED, so a beefy screen. But we'll find out. So that was the first part of the Switch successor hardware rumors, and then later in the week we got more, which I'll jump to right now because it was more juicy details.
Speaking of juicy,
by the way,
I have to go feed the cat.
These rumors would point to the Switch successor being, once again, a handheld console hybrid, because that's worked so well for them with Switch. And we've all been wondering, would Nintendo do a Nintendo and make something completely new, or would Nintendo make many would argue be a smart business decision to be like, wow, the Switch really did well. Maybe one more generation we should do a Switch thing. Again, just rumored. But here's what else we've heard. It'll have 512 gigs of internal storage, which that seems large for Nintendo. I don't know. I would half that, but that would be nice. The device will supposedly launch with a new 3D Mario. So that would be killer. Let's think. We haven't seen that since the 64. Sunshine wasn't at launch for the GameCube. The Wii launched with Twilight Princess. The Wii U launched with a 2D Mario. And Switch did not launch with a 3D Mario. And portables didn't launch with any 3D Mario games. So if this is true, it's been a long time since we've seen that.
And DS, this might not count, but didn't the DS have that Mario 64
DS? It was a remake of
Mm-hmm.
Mario 64, but that counts. You're right. I'll take that. And this point was specifically backed up by 3 to 4 separate sources. So not really surprised that a 3D Mario is in the works, because we haven't seen one since Sunshine, or since Odyssey.
Bowser's
having-
Fury's kind of 3D.
but yes, but that was an add-on for Super Mario 3D World. So
They made it way back then and didn't release it until just recently. Or?
no, I mean we don't know that,
So
but
they worked on it recently.
but it's not. But we're arguing launch games. It's not a launch game,
Right.
So timing makes sense. But that would be great. Obviously, that would be a good system seller right out of the gate. Would be nice. And then we also hear the device uses a new cartridge format. We don't know anything other than that.
What does
But
that
you
mean?
know, same thing. It's going to be like the Switch, but different. You know, it'll be cartridges like they have on the Switch, but some other format,
What will it
some
be
proprietary
called?
format. That's a great question.
I want to know.
Will it go Switch 2? Because if they're going
Depends on how
portable,
similar it is.
if they're going portable, it sounds like if these rumors are to be believed, it sounds very similar to the Switch. And the Switch has made such great headway with consumers.
Super Switch.
You wouldn't
it's
want to
gonna be
lose that name.
Switch XL.
So
or
you go,
something.
no, because that would be too confusing. They're not going to do another Wii U because Wii U confused the hell out of people. It would be a Switch 2. Or would they go old school and go Super Switch?
I think that would be a nice throw.
But I think Super Switch might confuse people too. They'd be like, is it a new one or is it just a revamp? Or I really think if they're going to go the Switch route, you have to go Switch 2.
That's so boring.
I agree it's boring.
Sucks.
But, you know, when you have a hit like the Switch,
Switch again.
this next
No, that doesn't
this next
roll.
step for for Nintendo is so important. Now, let me say this. This system could fail. Nintendo's going to be fine. We've been here before. But this next Nintendo, without a doubt, knows how important this next step is for them to get this right. And the pressure is on for them internally because they had the misstep from Wii to Wii U. That was really rough on them, but it paved the way for the Switch. So for Nintendo to have a Nintendo almost famously struggles with transitions between systems. They'll have a hit to a modest hit. They'll have a hit to a misstep. So we're in a step of they had a huge hit. It's still going on. Can they transition to another huge hit? I don't know. You got to play into the Switch. The Switch has so much goodwill with gamers. You really got to play into it. So if they go Switch 2 for the name, I can't fault them. It tells consumers exactly what it is. It tells consumers exactly what it does. And it clearly indicates that it is the next generation of Switch. Any other kind of verbiage confuses people. So you either do clean break in a name or Switch 2.
Switchy baby.
There you go. The Switchy baby.
Maybe the Switchy baby. That might be the.
That is good. That is good. So there's your rumors on what's happening with the Switch successor. Again, all rumored, not confirmed. But Nintendo fans know we live in rumors all the time. We talk about rumors all the time.
Good stuff.
But there's no more exciting time than new hardware rumors. So I am doing my absolute best to bring you only rumors that are backed by sources that have been proven time and time again. Because as we all
the
know,
grub sources we call
rumors come out of the woodwork from people that we've never heard of. These are very trusted sources over a very long period of time. That does not mean they can't get things wrong, but we're hedging our bets here. So that's that. Lots of discussion on this, obviously. The Destructo94 says, I believe it. The 3D Mario team hasn't released anything since Odyssey in 2017. My guess is the game has been complete for a while and Nintendo was sitting on it to save for the successor launch. Though that means the long-rumored Donkey Kong game by the Odyssey team was probably false, which makes me sad as we are about to go on a decade since the last new DK game. I don't think that's true necessarily. I think Nintendo could be like, let's pivot, get Mario for launch, and then, strongly follow with DK. Think about how strong the first year and a half to 2 years of Switch were. Not that the other years were bad, they weren't. But that launch cadence for Switch was unbelievably good, which is what really propelled the Switch. It was like, hey, we have all these heavy-hitting franchises. Here's new installments. Bang, 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 bang. One right after another. It was killer. And that pushed the momentum for Switch in a huge way that's carried through to this day. So it's a... Listen, Shuntaro Furukawa, Nintendo's president now, he is extremely business-minded, but he is extremely business-minded in the fact that when the software team is like, we want to do this, he's like, that's not my thing. You guys do
It's
it.
all business.
I'll sell it. He's not like, we should do this, that, we should do this game, we should do that game, because he's not the software guy. He doesn't tell what to make. The software teams are like, we can do this, we want to do that. And he's like, all right, then we'll do this. And this is when we should launch it. This is how we should show it. I know he's not everybody's favorite president in terms of like personality. Iwata was the perfect president for Nintendo and Nintendo fans because he was a developer first, then a president. Maybe not the perfect president business-wise because he was always more software-oriented. He certainly made huge strides for the company and led them to some of their greatest successes, the Wii and the DS. But he had some missteps too. But Furukawa is very much business side of things, and I think that's great to have for Nintendo and let the creative people do the creative stuff. So I think he's the right kind of president. Obviously, this is going to be a huge test. But I think they're in such an incredibly strong position right now. We're not at there, there's been systems that are successful and they peter out. The Switch has done it. The Switch has run the gamut. The Switch is like, it's a success. We can never look back on a Switch and say it was a failure because it wasn't and it won't be. We're out of that's never going to happen. We're 6 years in for like I said, we're pretty much 6 years in. So whatever happens now, as a Nintendo fan, I've always worried about these transitions just because they worry me. This one more than any other because you hate to see Nintendo do so well.
The farthest to fall.
And they have the farthest to fall. Yes, we're in an era when the Xbox Series X and S are out, the PS5 is out, and the Switch is somehow still competing.
Well, that could be a good thing. That almost means that they're not in the same class. You know what I mean? Because it's been 2 years now that these quote next gen systems have been out, and Nintendo's still there doing fine. So it's like, if ever there was evidence of Nintendo just being their own thing amongst this realm of companies, then this is definitely it. They're beating their own drummer. Is that how it goes? They're beating off their own drummer.
They're beating off their own drummer.
They're beating off. I feel like it's better to be in a position to like fall from grace a little bit than to be like clawing your way back.
Well, there's
so.
also a common trope with Nintendo that says when Nintendo's clawing back up, they're always at their best. They always do their best work, which I can see that too. The Switch is still number one. It's jockeying for number one with PS5 in terms of monthly sales. I'm talking about obviously Switch is number one in terms of overall units sold. But there are months when Switch is number one, which is crazy because, with PS5 and Xbox Series X, especially with PS5, you'd think, oh, that's an easy number one all the time. It's not. PS5 and Switch go back and forth on number ones. It depends on what's coming out, which is crazy to me. Like when Spider-Man comes out, PS5 is going to be number one. When Zelda came out, Switch was number one. And right now they're neck and neck. So, and in Japan, Switch is number one. And US, Switch is just behind number one. So
I heard there's a lot of wives out there who think the PS5 is ugly, so they won't let their husbands buy them.
Living room factor. That's right. Switch is much easier to hide. Nintendo is a family that hides the Switch.
Yeah, but the PS5 is out and it's hideous.
There you go. But importantly, it's out.
Yes. Well, Mr. Nintendo won't let me put it away.
It's out. It's out.
I've tried to put it places and he says no. So
well, you need
to breathe.
You need
whatever.
it does.
Sit on that stand thing.
I've heard that a few times.
There was some. Oh, I was going to say you're talking about Nintendo does their own thing. They're different. They're in their own thing. Nintendo fans know that. But here we go. The Switch rumors, Switch successor rumors are out, and I've already seen 2 outlets who I will not name who've said the Switch has to match the power of the PS5 to succeed.
Oh,
and I'm like,
it's the only way.
Do you know? How do you do this? How do you not know Nintendo? Like, okay, someone at, I almost said the outlet. Someone at this outlet goes, we're going to do a feature and it's going to be called the Switch has to match the power of the PS5 or the Switch has to match the next gen power. And no one at this outlet goes, what about the Wii? What about the DS? What about the 3DS? What about the Switch? All of Nintendo's greatest successes that are very underpowered compared to the competition. You have proof right there that Nintendo doesn't have to match the power of the other systems. How can you make this argument when you have so much evidence to the opposite? Remember when Sony was like, the PSP is going to take handheld gaming out of the gutter? Their quote, not mine. Well, the DS was extremely underpowered compared to the PSP, and we all know how that story went. And that's not to hate on PSP. I own a PSP, but that system sold less than the DS by a considerable amount. The Wii was very underpowered compared to the PS3 and the Xbox 360, yet it's Nintendo's best-selling, or not best-selling, one of Nintendo's best-selling systems. I don't understand how these outlets argue this unless
for the clicks.
It's
for
just
the
for the clicks, but that's
it
not.
Really is. They ignore the
It's for the
context.
clicks, man.
But it's certainly, I will say it's clickbait, but it's not full-on clickbait. Like, you have to know your history to be like, this is clickbait.
I think that's what makes it even deeper clickbait, because people are gonna be like, this isn't clickbait, but the title is something that's
audience,
so
yeah.
ridiculous. I have to click on it now.
You can find those two outlets that did that easily. They are very well-known outlets, but I see that stuff and I go through the same thing all the time. I see the headline and I'm like, instantly get angry, and I'm like, you're a gaming outlet. How are you this ignorant? And I'm like, they're doing it on purpose. And I'm like, here I am falling for it. And I'm like, but this is, somebody needs to talk about this, because they can't just say this stuff. And it's not.
They can and they
and
do.
You know what happens? They say it, and if anybody speaks up, they're like, Nintendo fanboy. I'm like, no, this is not Nintendo fanboy. This is, look at the history and present the
Nintendo
facts.
fact boy.
Thank you. Nintendo fact man. Thank you.
Oh.
So it's very annoying.
Got
but
hot in here.
It is what it is. And you guys listening to the show, I'm preaching to the choir. You've all lived it. Hi, KC. Hi, Ross. Hi, Backseat Studios. Good to see all you guys. Switch More. I see somebody, Drake suggested the name Switch More. There you go. That's it. I was going to read yours, Nintendo, but I realized it was you, the Mega Switch 3000.
How about its formal name, its government name, Switchard?
Retsu. Oh, the Switchard. Retsuza's got it. It has PS5 level graphics.
The second.
This is
Yeah.
see, Retsuza.
Switchard Senior.
This is not meant to be a knock, and
Or junior,
I might be wrong, but I'm going to guess you're older, because Retsuza says it has PS5 level graphics, and you win prizes by playing. And my uncle works at Nintendo. The uncle part, very much back in the day, was the thing. Super Sanchez, I think you'll get your 1080p 60 frames per second. I'm going to go out on a real limb here and say that's going to be a given for the system, but who knows? Hi, TKO. Good to see you.
I want it to play Blu-rays.
Yeah, it's not going to do that. I'll guarantee that.
I don't know, it has an 8-inch screen.
Yeah, but it's not going to be. It's going to be a portable
to play my Blu-ray.
I mean, you could. Sony on the PSP had those UMDs that you could buy movies on them. It wasn't Blu-ray, but there you go. Nothing like trapping your movies and TV shows on a format that only plays on one device. But that's a different conversation.